The French Revolution. It was a time of Bastille storming, peasant uprising, guillotines, leaders with skin disease, a queen suggesting that everyone eat cake, and war. The French Revolution is a very well known event in European history, although some of it remembered falsely, with a great many causes. There were many causes of the French Revolution, some of which were economic, financial, and social. A lot of the economic issues stemmed from hunger and malnutrition from the rising bread prices and poor grain harvest. Along with the poor grain harvest, there was poor transportation, which made it hard to transport the shipment of the food to one place to another, and it led to a destabilization of French society. Now, normally you'd say, oh, bread, not a big deal. But in France, bread was basically all they ate. So, not having bread meant everyone was starving. And the bread riots, of course, led to disturbances, which no one really liked. Because the French kind of ticked off that they had no food and were dying. No one really likes dying, especially of starvation, because that's kind of a horrible way to die. There were also a lot of financial issues that led to the revolution, and much of the financial issues were that France had no finances. They were bankrupt due to wars, the French Indian War, and especially the aid that they gave to the Americans during their revolution. And they had an inadequate system to tax people with, which eventually led to King Louis, who was a really weak king, trying to raise money, and he just was failing. And the nobles who he was trying to tax said, no, we're nobles. We don't have to pay taxes because we're jerks. So they told him that he had to call into assembly the Estates General, which he ended up locking out of the room when they were voting. So they went to a tennis court in Versailles. So they made an oath to create a new constitution for France. And so that was kind of the big spark of the revolution that was kind of created because Louis was trying to actually do something for once. There was also a lot of social issues along with the financial and economic problems that led to the French Revolution. A lot of this was resentment towards the nobility and especially the monarchy. The monarchy had a lot of scandal surrounding them, especially sexual scandal and stories and gossip and all that, so the public really just didn't like them. On top of that, they really resented Marie Antoinette because of all of her spending. They called her Madame Deficit, even though she did decide not to get that really expensive diamond necklace. There was also a lot of resentment towards the nobility for their privileges, such as not having to pay taxes and whatnot. The resentment also stemmed towards absolutism, the church's influence over public policy, and even the clergy resented those above them, the aristocratic bishops who got paid more money than they did. So there was a lot of resentment going on that people just weren't liking. And on top of that, the Enlightenment stemmed from France, led to aspirations of religious freedom and social, political, and economic equality. And so these ideals that people were not getting to absolutism made a lot of them want republicanism, and it led to people wanting a different government. So, in conclusion, the French Revolution had many causes. The economic cause was that there was no bread and people were starving. The financial cause was that France was deeply in debt. And finally, the social cause was the resentment of the people towards everyone above them, paired with Enlightenment ideals that had sprung from France.